Welcome to everybody. Today we have Javier Poveda and Francisco Morillo. These were former MEWA students from ESADE. These one, some of our best MEWA students in our data science program in ESADE. And we want to ask them about the post-program experience and about the difference between academia and the real world. They are both working in AWS, and this was, in a way, the first professional job after the master program. And as a first professional job, it's always unforgettable, among other things, because they change your life, they change your values, they change your day-to-day life, your day-to-day experience. And all this is implied in this first job. Along with it, there is a gain in perspective. You are no longer in academia, you are in the real world, and you can see things with a little bit more distance, and that's also of extreme value. And Javier and Francisco, welcome. Thank you very much for attending us and for Do Better in ESADE. My first question is, perhaps first you can tell us a little bit of your background. Why did you come to ESADE? What was your background coming? What were your dreams? And so on. Please, Javier, maybe you can start, and then Francisco.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thanks for inviting me. Very nice. And nice to see you again. And so maybe to my background, when I applied at ESADE at that time, I was working at a startup in Munich. It was a IoT startup in the area of sports. And I went there to write my bachelor's thesis. I did my bachelor's in industrial engineering. So I was always kind of in between the worlds of business and technology. And I had a passion for sports. So there was a really good fit. And my job there was I was the connection piece between the software developers and the customers. So I think the most closest thing you can describe it today as is kind of a product owner. So I was talking to the customers, and then based on the feedback, I was coming up with new features together with the software engineers. And when I was working so closely with them, I thought, this is actually, really, really cool if you can code, if you can just build stuff, because you can go so fast from ideation to actually building something and having something in your hands. And also I analyzed a lot of data, a lot of feedback that we got from our customers, which I also thought that if you have data analytics skills, you can just make that really a lot faster and better. And that's when I saw the MEWA that gives people with a business background this introduction into data science and into software engineering world, and I saw it as a perfect fit. And luckily, I got a scholarship, so I decided to go.
Fantastic. And you, Francisco?
Well, I'm also an industrial engineer from Venezuela, and my prior background was mostly working in logistics companies. So I was working in a warehouse in a meat processing plant. And I remember that I was in charge of trying to optimize and reduce time in whether how to process all the products and improve our overall cost in the warehouse, and which led to actually being able to analyze all of this data. And I remember that I got so frustrated that I had like basic Excel skills. And then every time that I would see my computer crashing down and everything would just freezing in my screen, I said, okay, there has to be a better way to do this. So when I started trying to investigate, I saw like the magic word of data science. And I said, okay, I have to start learning a little bit more about this. And that's when I found the Master's in Business Analytics at ESADE. And I applied while I was still in my last year to graduate as an engineer, and I got accepted. And it's funny because as I was starting my career, well, my academic year in ESADE, I first wanted to become a strategy consultant. So I was mostly trying to go into a consulting firm, I think, as most of our fellow MEWA students. And well, thanks to my to my year at ESADE, that dream actually became a different dream, and which led me here now to be working at AWS.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. And what happened next? You both end up in the AWS working on technical jobs out of a business school background. Was that difficult? How did you get there? It looks like a little bit of a long distance. It's a dream for many of our students. How did you manage to get there? Who you want to?
Yeah, so I think one of the first things was that I got really interested in data science when I was in the master's, and I was really impressed by all the things that you can do with it and like the power of machine learning. And then it was also nice that we were able to do these company projects. For example, I work with Telefonica on the chatbot project. So you learn some theoretical stuff, you do some university projects, and you actually go and work with a company, and you see that, okay, I can actually, I have the skills to put this into something productive in a business environment. Yeah, and then I saw the job posting at AWS, and I thought, okay, I think I'm just gonna try and apply. And then I was in the application process, which was definitely tough. But for me, at that point, I had made up my mind that I really want that job, and I don't want to go less technical anymore. So I just put most of my energy into getting through that application process. And yeah, here I am.
Great, fantastic. And for you, Francisco?
Well, for me, during my master's, we started learning more about AWS and cloud technologies, and I realized how little I knew about this whole new world. And I said that, okay, this is amazing. It actually became the only thing that I wanted to learn, read about. So I said, this is precisely where I want to work. So from that day on, I started to like write up a path in which I believe that would be like the proper way to land that job. So I started reading. I started to try to get as many certifications as possible. And I also saw a job offering, but I didn't actually get in my first year applying. And I thought to myself, okay, I have to maybe improve my work experience, maybe get a little bit more technical, trying to find what I was missing. So I ended up actually working for almost a year in Accenture as a big data engineer. So I was working with big data projects, all in AWS, which was my main priority. Because for me, I wanted to get that hands-on experience in the real world, for then be able to apply that into reapplying again to a job posting at AWS, which I did last year. I say it was February 2020 for the solutions architect role, and I was able to get in this time, which I was extremely grateful.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic.
I can actually, maybe if I can add something, I actually want to double down on that like this getting the students in touch with AWS and like, I mean, first of all, cloud technologies in general, and then preparing us or getting us at least a step on the way towards even getting an AWS certificate is really like, if you come straight from university, I think that's a big plus if you apply in one of those companies. So I think that also for me, it helped a lot to make the case for myself when I applied.
That's great. That's fantastic. And one question: what was the most difficult obstacle that you have to go over? It was the lack of technical skills. It was the lack of business skills. It was the lack of real world experience. What was the biggest technical obstacle that you had to overcome?
Yeah, so for me, I think it was definitely some technical skills that I had to learn, because I learned a lot about machine learning specifically and modeling in the masters, but it takes a lot more to bring a machine learning application to life and to integrate it in a system and act so that companies can actually use it and get profit out of it, right? So there's the whole software engineering side to it. So I work together with a lot of people that actually came from a software engineering background and came from there into machine learning. So yeah, they had a lot of skills in software development that I needed to catch up with. Yeah, I think that for me was the biggest obstacle.
For you, Francisco.
Yeah, I have to agree because at the end, this world is mostly, let's say, composed of computer science and software engineers. And as for us as industrial engineers, I don't think that we see that much of technical skills, of coding skills, which they have been seen for as soon as they start their bachelor, right? So I thought that I had a lot to catch up myself on because I had the data science skills and we had on ESADE, but I would say that I was lacking on the foundations of IT knowledge, right? So trying to understand a bit more about networking or software development. So that was why my first year when I was working at Accenture, I focused myself on like trying to learn a bit more about the basics before going deeper into cloud technologies.
That's great. But now you are in AWS, and did you fulfill your dreams? Is what you expected, or it's a different thing, or it's more than you expected? How do you see it?
Yeah, for me it was definitely really really great. I would say because I mean the learning curve that I had in the last 2.5 years working here is crazy, right? Because I mean, first of all, I had to catch up, but then also the pace of innovation at AWS, like the amount of services that come out, it's mind blowing, and I really mean it. And like staying on top of it is takes a lot of energy, but it's also kind of you learn so much, and that's great. And for me, I worked at least the past year. I learned with a lot of customers from the sports industry, which is kind of fitting my personal interest. So now I'm able to combine this personal interest and the technical side that I'm really interested in, which yeah is amazing.
Yeah.
And for you, Francisco?
Well, for me, I would say it was not what I expected, but because it was way better. So I had this idea, like I was learning AWS, and I said like, this is the place I have to be. And then when I found out like that I actually got the role, I was like, I really didn't know what to expect. So what would be my job description or my day to day? And now that it's like working as a solutions architect, in which I'm working with customers, leading them in their cloud journey, learning from them, learning from all the new services that we have. It's if you like to learn, if you like technology, like this is the best place to be because every day you're going to be learning from your teammates, your colleagues, your customers, or just by all the documentation and all the new services that we announce every year. So it's way better than what we sell it, that what you hear in the side.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's great. In the Southern Engineering Business Schools, we spent a lot of time talking about Amazon and about AWS, not only on the technical sides, but also on the business and innovation side. We talk a lot about these no PowerPoints, this 6-page summary, these comments on the 6 page. We describe a lot of innovation, always innovation, don't approve things, just get the disapprovals and sustain these disapprovals in meetings, with all these ideas that come on, and ways to manage innovation that come from AWS, particularly in Amazon in general, but AWS particularly. Now that you are in does the image that we present of Amazon and AWS in particular in ESADE fits the reality, or we created a completely different image that is not so real? What we tell in ESADE about Amazon and AWS, it's what really is, or just our wild imagination about how things really are? What do you think?
Mm, I'm trying to remember how how exactly it was presented at ESADE. But I mean, for me, it was like from when I learned about it from ESADE, at least AWS, I thought it was very much of a very technical company. And I mean, it is, but there's a lot more to it. And it's way it's bigger than I initially thought. So I mean, when I started applying, I watched a lot of the keynotes, and when you look at those, you really start to realize the scale of all of this. So, and then there's also like jobs in a lot of other fields. Like I mean, we have great people in sales and business development and really good managers, like all kinds of areas basically. So I saw it a lot through the tech lens before I was there, and now I see it as more of a kind of a complete picture. So I think pointing people to, I don't know if that happens meanwhile, but I think pointing people to some of the keynotes is definitely might be a good step to complete their picture of AWS. What do you think, Francisco?
Yeah, I agree. So at the beginning, I thought that most job opportunities will be more based for technical roles or more specialist roles. But then, like from within, you start learning that there's a whole pipeline in which we are creating these opportunities and we're helping our customers in adopting the cloud. So you start to get a whole of this. That's yeah, like as you were saying, the whole image of what actually is going on, that is not just a technical part. You have all the strategy from how to innovate, how you're going to be presenting this all these new features and services to your customers.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that we were a little, I would say that I thought they would be more only technical, but now you can see that there are job opportunities from almost every background, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fantastic. You are working in one of the most innovative companies in the world, if not the most. Is it difficult to keep up with this constant avalanche of new developments, new features that year after year come? And how do you manage that? I mean, for us, it's really complicated. I mean, every every year when you see the reinvent, you say like, "Oh my gosh, now I have to redo all the videos. Now I have to redo everything because everything has changed again." How do you cope with that?
Mm, yeah, so for me, I have to say it's definitely a challenge because, like I said, the pace of innovation is crazy high. Um, so the two things that work for me really well is really just investing time in learning. So really blocking those 2 hours or whatever per week to so that your calendar is blocked and you have something that you know that you want to dive into, and then you go and learn only in those 2 hours. That really helped me. Um, and then also what works for me very well is learning with customers. So basically we're in a customer project, we want to do something, and then we go and build it using the latest tools and services. And that's also what happens a lot. So that basically you learn about it, but then you also build something productive out of it already, which is even more satisfying.
Yeah.
And you,
Yeah.
you secret formula?
And for me, at the end, it can be quite overwhelming, right? For us and also for our customers. And I think that that's part of what we do here. I try to guide them into what, so it's expected for us to at least try to know and be catch up with these new features and new services. But we're giving internal tools and enablements for us to actually learn, and we're encouraged, as Javier said, like take a step back, take some time to yourself, in which then you can start learning, watch the keynotes, watch all the presentations. So that way, because at the end, most of these features come from customer requests. So at the end, you have customers that are wanting to improve the service for them, and as we call working backwards. And at the end, you know that this is a feature that people are asking for. So if you take the time for you to learn about it, then you're going to be able to use it to continue helping your own customers. So it's finding the balance. I would say every year, because as you said, with reInvent, every year the amount of new services is actually increasing. But it pays off the time that you invest, because at the end you see the difference when they're applying these new features with your customers.
That's great. And now that we have you here, maybe you can tell us a little bit about, and you both work in the AWS and you know everything about the AWS. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the secret plans that AWS has for world domination and this next step. What do you think are your secret
I
plans?
wish, I wish I knew about them and could tell you. um, but unfortunately, there's no secret plan.
Yeah, no, I will have to
Do
agree.
you know of
So
something, Francisco?
no, I wouldn't say that there's a secret plan. I think that the plan is I would say pretty open, so that we want to scale. We want to provide the best features and services to where our clients are and make them closer to them. So for instance, that's why we announced a new region here in Spain, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end, we just want to continue to innovate and provide these services to be closest to AWS customers.
Mm-hmm. That's great. One more question, more serious question. Now that you have some years and you have some perspective and you are working with clients and in the view world of data science and so on, looking at the MEWA, what will you change in the MEWA? What do you think is missing? What are we doing not well enough? What, in your opinion, has to change and what do we have to make it better?
Hmm. So the things that I definitely had, like I already said, I had to really dive in and learn a lot about software development to be more effective in the job. So maybe make people aware that developing a model, if you want to work in data science and modeling, is not the whole story. To really put it to use, you have to put it in production, integrate it in a system. Then like collaboration and versioning tools, I think, are really important. So definitely, I think learning about Git is a must. And then, yeah, DevOps for machine learning, in my case, is really important. And yeah, just look a little bit left and right about the fields that are at the border of your field. So big data, for example, is one that is really important, and just cloud analytics is something that borders machine learning. So yeah, getting your skills up in those fields can also be really, really helpful. Of course, I mean, you cannot learn about all of this in your masters, but pick some of them, and it will already increase your skill set a lot. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Francisco?
Yeah, I agree, because at first, what we're learning is that we have the data and we clean it, and then we start training the model, and we start doing some predictions with a subset of the data. But then what happens if the data is changing, or we have to retrain the model, or have to adapt it to a new data set, in which is what we're going to be seeing in the real world. We have to be monitoring how this model is going to be performing, if it's going to be drifting from the original one. So I would say that maybe going into a full or like a full pipeline from the creation of the project into the end of the deployment and monitoring, I think that that would be really helpful. As Javier said, I had to learn this in my first work experiences, but collaborative as I apologize, collaborative tools. So we're doing a lot of work projects in Esade. So I thought it makes sense that we can exploit that opportunities in order how to improve how coders and software developers are working alongside each other, which is, I believe, it's an extremely useful skill when applying and working in a real company. And one thing that I actually enjoyed a lot, and I know it's a bit more complicated to do so, but to maybe have one more capstone project. I know it takes a lot of time in order to be able to find like companies that want to work and collaborate with the students. But I do believe that one of my greatest experience that I had with the SATA was during my capstone, because it allowed me to actually be working in a real project using AWS, using data science, and you actually see the impact on how companies can be using the things that we're learning in the masters. So if we can add one more, I think people would be really happy.
Yeah, yeah, I cannot agree with you more. Yeah, in general, in universities, we put too much emphasis on machine learning and AI and so on, and we forget about data engineering or computer engineering. And at the
Yeah.
end, many times these algorithms, these AI algorithms and machine learning becomes a commodity because you use pre-configured algorithms that are already off the shelf, that are way better than anything that you can do. And the whole asset and what is important is how to productionize them, how to make them work in the real life. And this means a lot of data engineering, a lot of computer engineering, and maybe not so much machine learning and AI. And we always forget this fundamental piece of the equation, that making things work in the real world is as important as the things themselves. That's absolutely true. One more question. In general, in MBA programs,
That's maybe one thing that I would add, if I can.
yes.
Sorry, is that I mean, if some MEWA students or future MEWA students are watching this, please don't let this take your motivation, because all of the things, right, that you could do and that you could learn, because there are a lot of like everyone that even works in this industry, everyone has strengths and weaknesses in their tech stack. So everyone has fields where they need to learn. Not every data scientist that you meet in the industry knows how to or is an expert in productionizing models or in software development. So and imposter syndrome in the software development world is real, right? So everyone always thinks that people around you, they know everything, and you have to learn so much. And while it's good to be aware of these fields, you know, also be aware of your strengths. And I think you learn a lot of valuable things in the MEBA. So take that and get confident.
Yeah, I think that with what you're saying is find what you really what you really like during the MEBA, and then like you can take the time and when to continue to learn and explore more on this subject. So if you like more on the data cleaning and the ingestion of the data, preparing the data for the modeling, you can go a little bit with data engineering or big data. And if not, you can continue maybe going with deep learning models and working with AI. But it's knowing that there's a whole world of knowledge and technology out there. You have to figure out what really attracts you, and taking the time and investing so that you can learn and beat the imposter syndrome, as they say.
Yeah, and I mean, you're never done learning, right? You're never at
Yeah.
that point where you know everything. I mean, as long as you work in a job like this, you will have to keep learning and keep improving what you know. So and that's also a good thing, right? So it never gets boring.
That's true.
Absolutely. More on this line. Now, in business school, if we take a bigger perspective and so on, there is a transition because many of our programs, not particularly the MEWA, but the MBAs in general, all the programs of business school are becoming more technical. Becoming more technical because in general management is becoming more technical. It's more about data. It's more about experimentations and so on. There is a lot of confusion about how to change these business programs, the MBAs, the master programs, the bachelor programs, into these more technical aspects. Some universities did technical MBA, some universities include technical fields in the MBA, they did more or less the same thing for the BBA, so there is a lot of confusion. What is you that work in this environment, what would be your advice? Do we have to put more emphasis in general, not in the MIBA, in general in our programs, in coding, or maybe in algorithmic thinking, or maybe in the business implications, or maybe somewhere else? What do you think about that?
Do you want to take this one first?
Uh,
I don't want to always jump the gun.
I thought that we were seeing we're going with with a set order. No, I do agree that that the MBA should become a little bit more technical because at the end that's how the world is going towards to, right? So everyone is talking about digital transformation and data-driven companies, and I believe that as everyone is innovating, we have to continue innovating in education because at the end, if we don't, it's going to become outdated. So how can we be able to provide this knowledge in a way that people from the MBA or different careers and different backgrounds are going to be able to actually take advantage of it? Is I would say that I don't know if I would go with maybe with continue going with the business implications because I do believe that with all the cases that they're going to be studying, they're going to be seeing a lot of this and how companies are using all the data and how to take the right decisions. But I do believe that what could set universities apart is how you can teach them to take these decisions, and that would be by using data. So how can you build those I would say foundational skills in how to do so? You have to start with algorithm thinking, how to start designing a little bit of a simple code or decision tree, how to take decisions. And I would say we depending on where you are, you have to start with SQL, trying to understand how you can access to data. So everyone is talking about data, but you have to get the data first, right? So to start doing your analysis, whether it's on Excel or using Python. But I do believe that the world today is demanding that future professionals go more or have a more balanced skill set involving more technical depth.
Yeah, and I think that I mean I agree 100%. And you don't have to become a coder when you do an MBA, right? You don't have to become a software developer, but I think it's important to understand the concepts behind it because I mean 20 years ago, IT was kind of a service within a company that was serving other departments, and I mean today a lot of companies IT is the company. And even if you're a manager in that company, it's important, I think, to understand how some of the things work and the dynamics behind it. And like I said, you don't have to become a coder, but understanding the basic concept behind machine learning, right? I mean, there's some code and it's dynamic and it adapts itself to the data that you feed in, or the mechanics behind cloud computing. I think it will influence a lot of companies, or I mean most companies from all kind of industries, and the managers that sit in the C-level, in the end, they decide where the investments go, right? And you want to make informed decisions about where they go, and you don't want to fall short, I think, on investments in human resources in the IT departments and in cloud computing and so on, because otherwise it'll get really hard for some companies to keep up in a few years. So there's definitely a huge potential for people with a business background that are tech savvy.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, thank you. One final question, one final question directed to our MEWA students. Our MEWA students will love to be in your position. You are in many ways their heroes. And if you have to give them one advice, only one advice, which will be the advice that you will give to the MEWA students that are now studying at the SADE, or the future ones? Because this is because many MEWA students will see it.
I would say don't be afraid. So I remember from MEWA that people, I would say that they had this let's say this idea of what the masters would be, or how coding was, or what they actually expected. And then when you start learning a little bit more, you come into a little bit more of this like this, let's say, this space of despair, right? That you realize that I do not know anything. There's so much to learn, and you become overwhelmed, and you can become blocked. And at the end, everyone goes through this. It's not only in technical roles. Like, I think that this can apply to everything in life. So it's better to know that you're not alone. You have a full master class with you. You have your teachers, you have your professors, you have all the networking possibilities. So for you to not be afraid, understand that you're going through everything that like what everyone else during the prior masters have gone through. And just, if you take the time to learn, like if you can really see beyond that, let's say that frightening moment at the beginning, I think that you're going to find out that it can become easier as you go. But if you never start, or because you become blocked, you're not gonna be able to succeed in maybe going through your objectives of what you really expected when you started. So for me, I would say don't be afraid, ask for help, and be happy that if you like to learn, that this is the place to be. Because as Javier said, you're never going to stop learning. I would say that this is a must. So I would say that be happy that you made a right decision in your life to start in this path in your career, in your career development.
Yeah, I think my advice goes in a similar direction. In that, I mean, there's so many like smart people around you in the masters. So reach out to them, do projects with them, learn from them. They come from different backgrounds, from different nationalities. They have different views on problems and on the world. So just take all of that in. And I mean, that will really prepare you for also working in diverse teams in the companies, right? And then also reach out to the professors, ask for help, because I mean, there were great professors when I was there, and I'm sure there are still many great professors still. That do or did the things in the industry, that were out there and did the things that you might want to do in the future. And I mean, there's not a better mentor for you to help you to get somewhere than people that are there. So reach out, ask for help. That was usually very, very helpful for me in the masters. And finally, I would say don't become unflexible kind of in your mind. So don't think that, because you have done business in your bachelor's, you have to do it in your master's. You can go in every direction, and it's possible. And I see you see it with the two of us, that we came with a less technical background from the bachelor's, and now we're both working in a really technical job. And yeah, so if you're interested in something, don't stop going in that direction because you don't think you have the right background, because you can always get there, and it doesn't take as long as you think.
Perfectly put.
And have fun.
And do better.
Well, thank you so much.
Do better.
Thank you so much. We are really proud of you, and you are really proud of what you achieve. And thank you so much for this time, and thank you so much for attending this small interview. We hope that we can see you again, and we wish you the best on your personal and professional life. Thank you so much, and thank you all for attending this small interview. Thank you. Bye-bye.